You want to start now?
Actually kita mula pukul 10. Dah boleh mula dah, lagi 2 minit. So first of all saya nak welcome semua attendees and then nak maklumkan untuk mendaftar menggunakan link yang kita akan beri sebentar tadi. Tadi kita dah ada letak QR code kat skrin, tapi kejap lagi saya akan masukkan link untuk pendaftaran. So untuk tidak melengahkan masa, saya serahkan program ni kepada Prof. Aida untuk menyampaikan topik kita pada pagi ini, open book test. Okay, silakan Prof.
So Min, do I just finish the whole thing and then ada Q&A or boleh juga mencelah if you have questions in between? Actually,
boleh, Prof.
that will be okay.
Boleh. Saya serahkan pada Prof lah, sama ada Prof nak kumpul Q&A di hujung ataupun
sebab saya takut saya tak, ada orang yang mungkin tanya dalam chat yang saya tak perasan. So I prefer you all ask rather than letak dalam chat. Takut saya tak perasan. Can we move on like that?
Ya, boleh.
Boleh? All the participants?
Actually kalau kita guna function webinar ni, participants tak boleh mencela. Kita akan sebab
habiskan.
So participants boleh letak pada chat sama ada dia nak tanya terus ataupun letakkan soalan di chat. Kita akan remind Prof lah, kita akan maklumkan pertanyaan. Nanti kita akan bagi function panelist tu dekat participants yang nak bertanya tu.
Okay, sebab hari tu kita buat macam tu lah. That mean I talk to about 1.5 hours and then the last half hour tu for Q&A and discussion lah. So we want to do it like that?
Mungkin kita tengok jenis soalan tu. Kalau macam memang Prof tengah bercakap tentang tu, mungkin saya akan mencelah lah untuk Prof jawab soalan.
Okay, that will be okay.
Okay Prof, rasa kita boleh mula.
Saya share.
Okay.
Can see?
Ya. Dah nampak dah.
Okay. Dapat slideshow view? Okay, dapat kan?
Ya, nampak.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and a very good morning. I'm Aida Suraya Muhammad Yunus. As was mentioned by Puan Yasmin, I was in UPM for a very long time, more than half my life. I calculated 60% of my life has been in UPM. And I just retired 2 days ago. So I was in CADe for a long time, and I'm from FPP, Faculty of Educational Studies, and my area is mathematics education. So actually how this all started, UMK invited me to give a talk on open book test, and I do not just want to talk about open book test because there are other assessments that are relevant when we are doing remote learning. So I do not want to call it online learning because what we are doing now during PKP is not totally online. Some of us are sending emails. Some of us even have to send, some universities have to send learning packets to students by post. So it's more of remote learning rather than totally online learning. It's good to have online learning, but we know of the problems of accessibility and so on. So basically what I'll be talking about, we cannot just be talking about assessment without understanding about how we are conducting our lectures right now. So we're gonna have we have basically what we call online lectures, and we need to conduct. This is going to be exam time soon, online and offline assessments, and we will discuss about assessment strategies for online and remote teaching, and I specifically will give focus on open book tests. Open book tests actually. from certain education system, yeah, like I'm not sure about others because I studied mainly in the US. Open book is very common, and we as students were always like, open book, like this is a real scare, and we know we need to prepare, really prepare. So when I was Dean of Education, there were two assessors at that time who came, who said that, why is it that you all do not conduct open book tests? Actually, we did try and ask, lecturers, and last semester, I tried to do open book, and because I don't have that many students, and I wanted her to explore more, yeah, to really look at the situations. But the office did not allow me to do an open book test. It has to be a sit-in test. They have to schedule a time. So I'm not sure at that time, the policy, how was the policy? I did not ask about the policy, but I thought that's kind of funny that we cannot do open book. But that was it. Although there were suggestions by SSS that we should do open book. So for this semester, we don't have many options. This is not a regular semester. You have to do something out of ordinary. This is not business as usual. So you need to be thinking about other things. Yeah, how do you conduct your exam? How do you conduct your test? How do you do your assessment for this semester? And also, I would like to mention a little bit how to help students cope with open book. As I mentioned, when I was a student, it was a real scare to have open book. I prefer to really study, mark, and memorize things a little bit, and sit for a test. And there's a lot of challenges actually in doing open book tests. Yeah, any kind of remote assessment, is a real challenge because you need to minimize cheating. Students cheat anyway in class exams, but even more so in online assessment. So that is basically what we're going to cover, for today. So as I mentioned, this is since we have this COVID-19 MCO, it was an abrupt move. We were in our 4th or 5th week, 5th week, and suddenly from our face-to-face, we need to move to online teaching, as a continuity plan. The semester has to go on, and we were not prepared for it. The class was not meant for online, it was meant for face-to-face, and suddenly we had to change to online. So I would like to share, in terms of if it is really designed for online, then it's different. Like when my son came back for summer holidays, he took up online course, let's say for one course, right? And in the US, they use Blackboard a lot. So what you can see was that they really exercise continuous assessments. I mean, throughout the semester, there were a lot of assessment. So they use a particular textbook. So every week they cover one chapter. So they have to read in advance. The moment they open up for that week, they will have to answer some pre-quiz, pre-test. So there will be a pre-test, not that many questions, let's say 6-7 questions. And then there will be a lecture. There will be a discussion chats. So they are actually being evaluated on each one of these. And then they have a post-test, post-quiz, for that particular topic. And they will be given like a lot of assignment, which is very authentic. Authentic meaning it relates to real life, real situations, and it's very it requires a lot of thinking, critical thinking, and so on to actually answer those questions in 1 week. and after 1 week, they have another short test. So that covers one topic, and they still have their midterm and they still have their final. The midterm covers the first half and the final covers the second half. So in the conduct of a real online course, the assessment is continuous, right? We are also doing continuous assessment, but here, every single thing, every activity in the class is given points. So from the pre-test to the discussion, you cannot not be involved in the discussions. The discussion, they discuss about the cases that they have to do for the week, but they cannot provide hints, they cannot give answers. But if a friend posts, let's say, I tried like this, but I just did not get the answer, whatever, someone can actually give some kind of help, but not really giving the answer. And the students do not know each other. So they, that is another thing. When they do not know each other very well, they don't like email each other to get answers. Yeah, and the students are quite, in terms of ethics, I think, even if we're gonna ask someone, they're not gonna give the answer. So right now, our situations are very different. We started halfway face-to-face. Now we're gonna do online. Our face-to-face, we were just about to give our first assessment, yeah, and we were not even there, yeah, and suddenly we had to go off for MCO. So how do we deal with this? How do we really assess that students have learned, yeah, from the courses? How do we know that our outcomes have been met? To what extent have our students achieved those outcomes? So we need to provide those evidences in actually giving the grades. Yeah, this is A, this is B, or whatever. Yeah, so it's very important, yeah, that the assessment be planned so that as lecturers, we feel that we are fair enough to the students, to the good ones, and to those that did not work for it. Yeah, we do not want like everybody get an average grade. Yeah. So how you differentiate between the students who really master the content as compared to those who did not. So we have a new semester coming. Yeah, as we understand, it's still going to be online. So what I mentioned just now is maybe one way for you to incorporate frequent lower stakes assessment into the course. Lower stakes, 5%, the best, you know, like minimum. But if you have like 10 chapters to cover, yeah, all the quizzes, all the discussions, all the midterms, and all the assignments and so on. Yeah. So each one of these will contribute to the course. So it has to be frequent. Students have to work throughout. Yeah, that if they miss for the week, yeah, that means they have to send by the Friday night. You don't send it in, that's it, right? So they really have to be disciplined in that sense, and we have to teach them to be very disciplined. And when I did in UMK, I did not show these slides. Yeah, these slides come from UPM. We have been talking about the implementation of virtual classrooms in UPM. From the accessibility of the internet, we know that we have problems with that. Some students can't access, that we have to allow some students to come back to campus. And we need to align our strategies, yeah, to the learning outcomes. Yeah, so we have been talking a lot about how you need to align to the learning outcomes. Yeah, so some of you are familiar with the word constructive alignment. Some of you may be new to the term. Yeah, I have one slide on that one. And we need to identify the type of virtual class that you will be handling. You prepare the materials, you design and conduct the virtual classroom. So we have either synchronous, asynchronous, upload the materials, provide information to students. Students cannot not know that they have to send in something. Yeah. So student may have problems with internet access for that week. So how do you deal with that? You make sure your students actually know that they have to do something, right? So how you can have different, you can emails, on top of emails you can WhatsApp, and then you have on Putra LMS and so on, Putra Blast. Okay, conduct virtual classroom, record students attendance. Yeah, so we can actually record students attendance online, whoever is online. So the problem with online is that when we do Zoom like this, a lot of people will turn off their video, because if everybody turns on their video, then it's going to be jammed, right? So we do not know if students are attentive. We can see their faces, we can see their reaction. They may just turn it on and then they go off somewhere and then come back at the end of the class. But you need to trust your students. You have to have some way, right? You need to give feedback to students as usual, and keep records and documents, of students' performance. And this came up in New Straits Time, the last month. I'm not sure. Last month or the month, maybe the month before. Yeah, it's about coping with online lectures. Yeah, so if you can see on the slides here, this was from my students' presentation. I'm teaching a seminar class this semester. Most of the students, I cannot see their faces. Yeah, I can just see that they have logged in, so that's considered attending, right? But we do not know if they are really there, they are attentive, they are listening, or they are roaming around somewhere after turning it on, so we will never know. Yeah, so those who have good internet access, then they will be, you can see, they will turn on their video, right? And this actually comes from my grandchildren's classes, Google Classroom. So I find, I'm one of those who receive all the what I call updates on their classes for the day. Yeah, so there are two of them. So I receive it, my daughter receive it, because my grandchildren were with me for a while. So I find that my whole emails, is full, of notifications, for the class. So this is something that we need to cope with also. Yeah, the students need to cope. Imagine 6 classes, everybody send it notification. You need to send in this one, you need to send that one. Our Zoom class is like this, but those are for bigger children. Okay, I mean adults, they can manage that. Yeah, I'm still thinking about the school, the situation in schools, talking about small children like this. They are only like in Senate 3, Senate 1 and Senate 3. Yeah, so there are so many notifications that it is hard, unless you really can manage it well. Even for us, when students start sending so many emails and inquiries about the course. And in this particular news clip, I highlighted more on the authenticity of test takers. Yeah, so this is one of the things that I will highlight, during our lecture. So we have heard, it made headlines. It made headlines not only in Malaysia, but also elsewhere. Yeah, the title of the news, these Malaysian students spent 24 hours on a tree in order to get internet signal to complete her exams. It's not just Malaysia, I think throughout the world, internet access is quite a problem. So this student is a foundation student in Sabah, I think University Malaysia Sabah, and she really need to spend time here, if not, because this is the only place that she can get good signal. So as the instructor, we need to be very sensitive, that our students are not in town, living in town, having Unify or whatever other access, for their Wi-Fi. Even when I see when we have meetings, a lot of lecturers cannot log in, because they have problems. So what more, with our students? So we have to think, it is not just online, it has to be beyond online. we need to think about those who has no or limited accessibility. Do we need to send it by post? Even the post laju is no longer very laju nowadays, yeah, because there's so many orders, and I think you know, with the online shopping nowadays, yeah, even post laju is not that laju, yeah. So how do we get the materials to our students fast? We used to do that with our PJJ students, yeah, where we send them modules, we send them learning packets, but we did not have proper modules for our classes because we were not prepared for this. At most, we may have our PowerPoints. Is that enough for students to learn PowerPoints? Yeah? Okay, remote learning. So remote learning can include activities such as self-directed learning packets, yeah, synchronous, asynchronous, yeah, through LMS and other web services. And we need to think about multiple means of representation of learning. Yeah, we need to provide text. There will be videos, images. Yeah, preferably in terms of in the form of infographic posters, audio. Yeah, and we need to search for OER, yeah, open educational resources. There's quite a lot out there, yeah, which is related to your own courses, your own content. So on top of your lecture, videotaping your lectures, you need to go and provide more resources for students. Yeah. And we have been doing this LMS web meeting, yeah, WebEx, Zoom, yeah, Google Meet, and so on. WhatsApp, yeah, some are using WhatsApp. Yeah, they just record their voice. For today, we're gonna do this. You know, like I would like everybody to click in the attendance, so I see that in WhatsApp. Chat, email, learning packets. So this is the time for us to be very creative. I've lived 60 years. This is the first time we are facing this, right? It happens like maybe one in 100 years. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise that we get to experience it and learn to handle it. Yeah, this is something. This is part of risk management. Yeah, we never foresee this, and we did not prepare for this. Yeah, so it's really something out of ordinary for all the countries. Yeah. So this was done by MPP, Majlis Perwakilan Pelajar. So for online classes, students prefer actually Zoom meeting, yeah, and then they rely a lot on Putra Blast. Google Meet is good with them. WhatsApp, yeah. The rest is being used, yeah, Hangout, Webex, and so on. Okay, and after I talk about the online practices, NSD called me again, talking about grading practices. So how do we change, yeah, grading practices on at the bottom, yeah, the continuation online assessment post new challenges. So things are really changing, and we need to think about what is best. Yeah. One example in education, our students are out for teaching practice. They were just there for about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Now that I was about to retire at that time, and I didn't have students to supervise. I cannot remember the details, but they were like in their 3rd week out of 12 weeks. Yeah, and suddenly the school was closed. They need to provide us, yeah, to show us, yeah, how well they can plan, yeah, how well they can adjust their teaching to the students' need. We would like to see how innovative they are, yeah, in explaining concepts. So how do we do that? Yeah. So it's only lately that schools are open and they want the practical students to actually go to the school. They have to come into schools every day, and they have to conduct to plan their online from the school. Yeah, not working from home anymore. But the earlier part, they were working from home. So we wanted to have a pass-fail. Yeah, and we debated this a lot in the faculty because especially for me, the teaching practice, yeah, that bears a credit of 4 and 4. 4 is for major subject, 1 is for minor subject. They teach 2 subjects in school, so that is 8 credits in total, and a lot of students can actually score. Yeah, they put in a lot of effort. Yeah, we actually go and supervise their teaching. We ask them to improve. You know, most of us, the first visit, we did not even give grades. Yeah, because we would like to see the change. Yeah, the improvement that they make. So usually students can make good grades. So that will actually help with their CGPA. So if we're gonna give a pass-fail, well, it is not fair for some of the students, and maybe they're not gonna put in a lot of effort, yeah, in designing their online lessons and also online assessments. So when it was brought to Senate, it was decided it has to be a graded practice, yeah, not pass-fail. So right now we want to stick with a graded course, yeah, not pass-fail. So how do you discriminate or differentiate between students who already acquire the content and those who do not? So we will talk about assessment strategies for online, yeah, and also remote teaching. Again, yeah, I did not share this with UMK, but this is in CADe's, I need to move this one. Okay, in CADe's UPM virtual classroom and e-assessment guidelines. Yeah, so I'm sure everybody have already gone through. Yeah, so when we talk about assessment, yeah, again, we start with checking internet accessibility. We identify the types of assessment. Yeah, is it going to be continuous? Yeah, is it going to be final assessment? Yeah, and then we align our assessment to course learning outcome. Whatever it is that you want to do, the kind of assessment you're going to do, open book or whatever, projects, presentation, it has to be in line with the course learning outcome. Then you need to think about the types of e-assessment and strategies. There are a few suggestions. Then design and develop e-assessment instruments. Identify types of rubrics. Determine the appropriate form of answers. Yeah. Now a lot of things are going to be open-ended. So how are you going to provide how do you come up with your answer scheme? Make announcements to students, yeah, when to send in, when's the deadline, yeah, nothing is accepted after deadline, how many pages, what is your expectation? Yeah, you need to be clear with that, right? We do not want to give a question and one person comes with 1 paragraph and then another person comes with 4 pages, right? So you need to specify, and we're going to look at examples of what is being done, yeah, in other countries especially, how we can conduct this. So you conduct the final assessment, you submit the answers and documentations of final grades. This came out quite some time ago, yeah. January, is it? No, I don't think it was in January. Okay. I'm not sure if it was that cannot be that early, yeah. That that decision was made. Yeah, I think it was quite recently, yeah, about 3 weeks ago, yeah, 3-4 weeks ago. So UPSI batal peperiksaan akhir semua kursus. Yeah. We're not talking, we can have final exams. That's why we have the webinar today. Yeah. But we have to decide the format of the final exam. How do we monitor the conduct of the final exam? Yeah. Well, it's an option not to have final exams, but it does not mean, with the constraints we have now, we cannot have final exam. So we make that decision, right? So this one, they change everything to final assessments. And it's mentioned here also, you UPSI mengirimkan secara pos lebih 500 unit pen draft yang dimasukkan nota-nota kuliah dan lain-lain bahan pengajaran yang tiada akses internet. So actually, all of us, all the universities are strategizing, on how best, to reach out to our students. So we can call, we can send email. This is like worst case scenario, you need to send by mail, slow mail. Just now I mentioned about constructive alignment. We have always been talking, whatever assessment, it has to be aligned to your course learning outcome. Some call it CLO, and we in UPM we just call it CO, course outcomes. Don't get confused. I know some are still confused, CLO, CO, whatever. All these are learning outcomes. But when the learning outcomes is for the course, we call it course learning outcomes. If not, we just call it in short, course outcomes. And for the programs, program outcome, PLO, PO. Okay. So we have our course outcomes. And you need to see, you see the arrow there. The arrow goes to assessment methods first. You need to see when you have your course outcomes, you need to see how am I going to assess the students? Because from there only you can decide the kind of teaching and learning activities that you will be conducting, right? And from there you get feedback whether or not your outcomes are achieved. And again, you need to plan for your assessment methods and plan for your teaching learning activities. So this term was coined by Biggs and Tang. Biggs is, I think he's Australian or British, I'm not sure, but he resides in Australia right now. Tang is his Hong Kong wife, and both of them were working in Hong Kong at that time. And while Malaysia actually embarked or subscribed fully to OBE in 2009, Hong Kong was like in 2007, where it was a worldwide decision, not worldwide, a Hong Kong-wide decision to actually subscribe to OBE. So he came up with this term, constructive alignment is a principle used for devising teaching and learning activities and assessment tasks that directly address the learning outcomes intended in a way not typically achieved in traditional lectures. I'm the outcome of traditional lectures. My undergraduate degree started in 78. All of you, many of you were not born, right? So in 78, I was already doing my undergraduate. So it was fully traditional lectures. Lectures, midterms, exams. So this is, you have to measure in ways that's not typically achieved in traditional lectures, tutorial classes, and examination. So what kind of assessment for us to measure this outcome, that outcome? So this is something that you need to think. So this has to be aligned. And you need to build strong connections between course outcomes and what is assessed. So if UPSI had decided to make do without final assessment, final exam, okay. If they are going to go for final assessment, okay. But they have to make sure, and all of us, not just UPSI, okay? I'm not criticizing anybody right now. Sorry about that if we have UPSI people here. But you need to think whether or not your final assessment and your other continuous assessment had really ensure that the outcomes, can you actually determine whether or not the outcomes are met. So what are the possible assessment options? And there are many you just be creative. You can just Google. There are many things. Yeah. So basically today we talk about open book tests. Yeah. We know quizzes is important in when you are doing online. Yeah, because usually we get feedback from students by looking at them. Yeah. Seeing their response in class by their questions, you actually get some kind of feedback. Yeah. So here you need to do continuous short quizzes, right? Get students to do reflective papers, case study. Yeah, we cannot make do without practical work, so we have been talking about that. And students, we actually allow some students to come back for a few weeks to finish their practical work. Yeah, because it's something that they cannot do from home. Yeah, I'm not talking about people in engineering or food technology or biotechnology, chemistry, and so on. As simple as sewing. Yeah. Well, the home economic students do not come to UPM to learn how to sew, right? A lot of people have that misconception. Yeah. But they learn to sew so that they can teach their student how to make the right kind of stitch. That is something that I really need to explain. A lot of people have wrong misconceptions when we say our students are sewing. Yeah, they are not. They are sewing, but we are teaching them, yeah, how to do it right so that they can actually teach others and assess others. So a lot of them do not have sewing machines at home. Or if they have sewing machines, their sewing machines is really like old, and does not have all the certain stitches. Yeah, so they requested to come back. Yeah, so that they can actually complete their assignments. Then we have project oral tests. Yeah, if you can do oral tests, is good. Yeah, just this have been practiced in certain countries. Yeah, when my daughter was studying, yeah, for her medical degree, yeah, in Russia. You don't ask me why Russia, but at that time she was offered Russia, so she went. Yeah, so Russia is like different. Yeah, so they were given like 100 questions. You have to know all these 100 questions. Yeah. So when they come in the room, they just have to pick 10 at random. And that's the 10 that you have to answer orally in front of the panel. I think there were like 4 or 5 panel. And they can get their grades offhand, yeah, immediately after the oral test. So that means exam is always a sample of what students have to learn, right? It's just a sample. But in final exam, we decide on the samples, right? Which part to ask and so on. Does it have a fair distribution of what we have been teaching? Yeah. So here is also a sample. You need to know all these 100 things. Yeah. So at random, you just choose 10 and answer, right? And we for some programs, they have been doing portfolios, especially design programs, architecture. Yeah, even for our back to our science rumah tangga students, yeah, they have to have a portfolio, yeah, of some sort. So this is also possible assessment options. Yeah, presentation can be like this. If everybody can log in, yeah. If not, student will have to put up their presentation on YouTube, yeah, for others to view, yeah, comment, and for you to comment and grade. And also presentation can be in terms of not really like you are not looking at their communication skill, but more of how they put everything together and present it to you. So it can be in terms of blogs, wikis, or whatever. And so different kind of presentation than what we have been practicing all this one. And reading assignment. We seldom give a lot of reading assignments, so maybe I have slides on that one. Okay, so we will talk about open book test first. This is what a lot of people are looking forward to. Yeah, how do we come up with open book tests? Open book, yeah. So you study, you have materials, you have some small notes, you have the internet, you have books, yeah, PowerPoint slides, so many different resources, yeah. So how do you, as a student, how do they handle this? And as the lecturer, how do you come up with a test where the answer is not in the book, right? But don't forget, it has to meet, it has to be aligned to the outcomes. So open book tests, yeah, higher education is supposed to equip students with intellectual abilities and skills. I think that is the very reason the two assessors really asked us why we did not do open book tests. Yeah, so open book tests can usually is sit-in tests, but student can bring in any resources. So if they are in front of you, it's a sit-in test. Maybe they don't have access to the internet and so on. Yeah, but just confined to books and notes. Yeah, but when they are at home, yeah, there is no limit, yeah, to the resources that they can refer to. So it makes our work, yeah, much more challenging. So open book tests, open book exams test ability to quickly find relevant information and to understand, analyze, apply knowledge, and think critically, and is conducted online. Yeah, test the ability to find and use information for problem solving. So you need to give something where it requires a lot of thinking, do problem solving, yeah, to deliver well-structured, yeah, well-presented arguments and solutions. And open book exam questions usually require application of knowledge, and they may be essay-style questions or involve problem solving or delivering solutions. This was like many years ago, more than 10 years. Yeah, I met one teacher. Yeah, she was doing her master's with online to what's the name? It's an Australian university. Offhand, I cannot remember the name. So I asked her, why is it that you decided to study online for your master's? I think it costs triple what she would pay if she comes to UPM, right? And she said, I enjoy it, and I find it very challenging, and I learn a lot. So I said, won't you get, better information with face-to-face classes, yeah, having real kind of conduct of a course. They said it is something that really opens up her mind. Yeah. So whenever she's given a question, because she's a school teacher, they always will ask students about the context of their country. Yeah. So if we are talking about this, looking at this critically, let's say the curriculum, the syllabus, the content, the level of content. Yeah. So she needs to discuss based on the situation or based on the context of our own country. So she said there is no way that one would actually outsource. Yeah. I'm always skeptical, yeah, when we do this kind of thing, when people can actually outsource. Yeah. Even our students are quite smart. Yeah, they outsource their assignments to seniors, especially seniors who are doing very well. So somebody just for like lunch, for maybe a few ringgit, they actually would be willing to do it. So she said, no, nobody would do this for me. Yeah, because it requires a lot of thinking. I need to really prepare, look into different perspectives. And I don't think one is willing to actually do this like in a matter of 1 week. Yeah, so because when we talk about open book tests or this kind of online assessment, Yeah, you have to give them a time frame. Yeah, some has to be turned in by 24 hours. Some will have to be turned in 1 week. Yeah, so it depends on the kind of assessment or test. So she really felt like she learned a lot, and of course they had exams. Yeah, but exam are proctored exams. Yeah, she has to go to a center, and there will be someone who invigilate the exam. So students, we as lecturers, we need to make sure whatever grade that we give is something that the students deserve. Right? If she deserves a C, it's a C. If she deserves an A, it has to be an A. Yeah. So this is very important for us. Yeah. I would put it, nanti kita kena jawab lah kemudian hari, you know, that kind of phrase. You have to be what do you call? Can't find the word right now. Yeah. Okay. So that is the kind of knowledge, skills required to actually answer this kind of test. And is tests used to assess how well students organize information. If you're not organized, you cannot find it here, you cannot find it there, and then suddenly you put all your tagging, you get so confused, right? Understand and analyze main concept and write effective response. And can limit the resources that they can refer to, but it's hard to detect. So if it's sit in online, sit in open book test, yes, it's quite easy. Yeah, you just sit there and sort of observe. Yeah, but if it's going to be online, it's going to be difficult. Of course, when students turn it in, they have to send it in with turn it in report. Yeah, so that has to be a requirement that they send in with turn it in report. And questions should be of higher order, yeah, according to Bloom taxonomy, which requires analytical, critical, creative thinking. So you have to make sure, yeah, it's not like your exam, your whole course is gonna be testing students at this level. You need to go back to your learning outcomes. What is the highest level that you are supposed to measure? I hope for our master's and undergraduate program, there won't be any courses that just go up to C3, yeah, at the very least C4, yeah. And we actually made a guide that the undergraduate courses have to come up to C4 average. Yeah, not that every course will reach C4. Some will reach C6, some C3, C4. Yeah, but you need to see, yeah, what's the highest level that you are supposed to measure. Yeah, and during my time in CADe, I think we only courses like introductory French, introductory Spanish, where we think it can just be at the level of C2 at for the highest cognitive level. Because when you learn a new language, you are just learning how to pronounce. Yeah? When you are learning French, first semester just learning how to pronounce certain words. Yeah, so you would not come to the level of application, analysis, and so on. But for other courses, it should come to at least a C3, yeah, application. Yeah. Okay. So take-home exam can be a very effective tool for assessing students' learning, but also present some challenges in ensuring an equity for those taking exam. Yeah. The format gives students more time and flexibility to complete an advanced or complex assessment, perhaps with more resources than they would have in seated final exam. So the keyword here is for them to complete an advanced and complex assignment. So if people are saying our students are not critical, our students are not thinking, yeah, so we need to really focus on this kind of, on these levels of questionings. And many sources suggest that take-home exam work best with open-ended questions and in more advanced courses. So we have for our undergraduates right now, there are some courses which are not advanced. So maybe not the level of questioning does not come to open book. Yeah, if it's going to be very direct, up to the level of C3, then you need to find other options. Yeah. And you need to discuss with students about academic integrity. This is something that I think we really need to stress, yeah, in our courses about academic integrity. We see that not only students, among lecturers, among other officers, within and outside of universities, yeah, we have a lot of problems with integrity. Yeah, here specifically academic integrity. Yeah, copying, taking others' words, others' work, even if you have it organized in a certain way that someone else had done it, also that is like copying. So you need to share about academic integrity. Ask students to articulate importance of doing their own work, or what is the broader value of scholarly integrity, and how this assignment might be challenging in this respect. So scholarly integrity, right? we would like students to just when as output, yeah, of UPM, yeah, to have such integrity. And I think our previous VC had been talking a lot about integrity, yeah, in all her speeches. Test students sign an affirmation statement when they receive the exam and when they turn it in. Yeah. So I looked through, yeah, like Harvard College. They have a sample affirmation text where students will have to sign and say, I affirm my awareness of the standards of the Harvard College Honor Code. And I hope all our students are aware of the standards of UPM Honor Code. Yeah, what can, what cannot be done, right? So I would like to share some examples of open book tests. Actually, when we look through the internet, yeah, I'm sure there are many Malaysians who actually practice this, but we're not sharing. Yeah, even the one in the internet is more like practice questions for students. Yeah, so that the students can prepare themselves better, yeah, for this kind of test. So mainly these are from other universities, not from our home universities. So if we say one sample question from the University of Technology, Sydney, yeah. So this is about business law. So of course you have the normal instruction, how many questions, how many you need to answer, yeah, and each question is of equal weighting, right? Okay, the one that I highlighted, about 1,000 to 1,500 words should be sufficient to answer each question, right? So that is stated. So we do not want students to think, I can actually respond to this in one paragraph. While another student is writing like 3 pages, right? If I'm not mistaken, I checked on this one. 1,500 words is like 3 pages. Yeah, but you can just Google and find out. Yeah, I may be wrong, but I did check the last time. So this question require, yeah, to advise hypothetical clients regarding their rights or whatever. So that is the question, right? For all questions below, assume that Kamaria is a member of the World Trade Organization and that is ratified the amended Hague WISB rules. And your answer has to be turned in by certain time, turn it in. Yeah. So we see that it has to be, we have to have, you can send in through Turnitin, or you can just provide the Turnitin report and include, yeah, in your submission, yeah, in the student submission for the test. And you need to also indicate, of course, the due date, and also what is your expectation, yeah, in terms of length. This is also from the same university, University of Technology, Sydney. Yeah. So about car manufacturing flourished due to Camel's very low labor costs and the very generous government grants and so on. So you can see that they have a scenario. So I mentioned just now authentic assessment. Yeah. So when we talk about authentic questions, yeah, it has to relate to real life, something where students will see the practicality of what they have learned, yeah, and the application of what they learn, yeah, to I have some notification on the computer. I need to check if I turn on my plug. Okay. So the question, the Australian Car Manufacturing Council seeks your advice, yeah, about the possible measures it could request the Australian federal government, yeah, take action in the scenario. Let's see, how do I close this one? Saya belakang. Okay. So again, yeah, we're talking about authentic assessment, yeah, and in my last few slides, I mentioned about the validity, yeah, the reliability, yeah. The validity means, does it measure what it's supposed to measure, right? So how do you know what it's supposed to measure? You have to go back to your learning outcomes. So this is your learning outcome. Does it measure your outcomes? Is it a valid question to measure those outcomes? Who validates that? Right? So now we still have to go through the same process where somebody will also validate your questions. Yeah? Somebody has to validate your questions. Not that we think the lecturers are not capable of doing this ourselves, but this is part of the process where you get peer review, yeah, on your assessment questions. So what level is it measuring? How many % are you going to apportion for this take home, yeah, as compared to the rest of your assignments? Which questions are measuring what level? So that has to be settled. We are not just talking about the questions here, right? So in terms of the alignment, reliability, yeah, validity, reliability, is it reliable? Like you think if students take it again, they will actually would perform, yeah, about the same, yeah. So, and also authenticity. Okay, for this one, I just want to highlight those, yeah, that I put in bold, yeah. So you need to be very bold in your instructions, yeah. Like this, it says it has to be completed independently. Do not discuss your work with anyone else. Surely you do not know, but you need to put it down, right? So do not discuss your work with anyone else. There are 2 questions, 3 pages. Number 5, this is a take-home examination. You may consult books, notes, and papers. You may use the internet as a research resource. However, you may not consult or discuss this exam with another human being. When we talk about another human being, directly or indirectly, you have 24 hours, right? You can email to your friend, you can email to another lecturer, you can email to your brother who's also a lecturer. Oh, well, he can provide you better answers, right? So directly or indirectly, nor may you seek help from another individual on the internet. No posting questions to chat rooms or message boards. So you need to put this down. Yeah, it is. Of course, you may say it in your explanation. Yeah, but you need to have it written. Yeah, explicitly. Yeah, in written form. Yeah, all your instructions. And if you have question, you can contact the professor. Yeah, do not worry about being polite. You can call actually at any time. I suppose that's what it means. You can call for emergency, but texting is fine. Yeah, at any time. Yeah, turn in your exam by emailing. Your exam, okay, number 7. Your exam is not submitted until the professor confirm your exam was received. Yeah. So, and this from University of Vanderbilt, yeah, academic honor code applies. Adhere to the spirit of this code. Yeah. Okay. So there are really a few things that we need to emphasize here. These are all about academic integrity. So these are more questions. Yeah. So you have situations. You may give students data to analyze. So this comes the investigative process, and then what they are supposed to do, right? And these are again, yeah, instructions. Yeah, this is a take-home exam. The instructor is not unaware of the possibilities that exist for obtaining exam solutions outside of one's own abilities. Therefore, the general rules apply. Yeah, you may not collaborate or otherwise physically or virtually. Yeah, do not submit your exam to someone or some agency who will do the exam for you. So I suppose now there may be agencies who can actually do your exam for you, just at any price, at some price, yeah, that you are willing to pay. Yeah. In the US, even to give a credit transfer, they have to send to some agencies. You give to the agency, you have to send all your transcript, all the evidences. They give you the credit transfer and you pay for how many credit transfers you get. Yeah, so this kind of agency take advantage of the situations. Yeah, so you may have agencies coming up, yeah, where they are willing to tackle, yeah, exam questions for students. And they really put it down. Yeah, these people do everyone except themselves a disservice. Yeah, and it mentioned here. Yeah, I quite like it. A grade is a grade, and over time will mean less and less. But knowledge acquired pays dividends for as long as you retain that knowledge. So if you outsource, yeah, you get your A, but it's just a grade. But do you actually gain the knowledge? Yeah. Do you get dividends from the knowledge you acquire? Yeah. So the instructor reserves the right to ask the student submitting the exam. This is like LHDN. Yeah? I trust you, but I can ask you anytime, right? I trust that you say you already paid for this, you pay your zakat, you pay your this, some gift, whatever. But I can ask you, yeah, to provide, yeah, all the evidences at later times. So the instructor reserves the right to ask students submitting the exam to explain the answers for any or all problems on the exam. If the student is unable to provide a satisfactory answer, then it will be assumed that the work was done in an earnest manner. Okay, so I've given you a few example. Yeah, one is the level of questions. So again, we need to look at it was mentioned it is more suitable for advanced courses, because in advanced courses you probably need to achieve a higher level, higher cognitive level, right? So we need to think about what about the other courses, the fundamental one, the basic ones, yeah, the first year courses that only address up to C3. Yeah, is it possible for you to do that? Yeah. So if you look at these questions, it's not possible. Yeah. So you still have to think about some other alternative assessment. Yeah. Not everything can be done. Yeah. Open book. Yeah. Open book. Yeah. Even I think we had more open book for our graduate studies, yeah, or maybe later your senior year, yeah, for undergraduate.
Praida,
Yeah.
we have two questions dekat chat. First one is, how can we make sure that students don't discuss among themselves during open book exam? And another one is, in UPM, we have few method of assessment. Do we need to moderate assignments, especially those who assess it for final?
Do we need to moderate assessments or final?
Moderate assignments for final, yeah.
So far, I think for UPM, we only moderate the final exam questions. There has been questions also when I was with CADe, when we were facing our audit, yeah, SWA audit, yeah. They also ask about midterms. How do we moderate midterms? Which some were doing and some were not actually doing. It was like lecturers were given full autonomy in deciding. But we have to be thinking about the whole assessment plan. Yeah, I see the practice of some universities in Malaysia where they actually have a meeting about few weeks before the exam, where everybody will have to share with the department what kind of assessment they will be doing for their courses. So they this kind of assessment, I'm going to give them this project, I'm going to give them, you know, not like final exam questions, but in an overview of the whole assessment plan, yeah, so that they can actually get feedback, yeah, on the projects and so on. So when it comes to a test, actually midterms, final, it should have a vetting. I would not say moderation, but more like a vetting session. Yeah, either by a few people, or better still by I think our right now we have like one person to actually vet our question. Yeah, it's good to have a team, like a small team, looking at each the questions of the lecturers, especially in determining, yeah, the level that they are supposed to do. Okay, and your earlier question was, how do we know that students do not share? Yeah, just now when the start of the session, I mentioned about students taking online, a fully online course. They do not know each other, right? So the possibility that they will ask each other, they have a chat discussion where they can actually ask, I'm having problem with this one. I tried, you know, this method, it does not really work. Somebody will have to give some help, but not giving answers, but can provide some hints. That is allowable. The lecturer actually wants to see that kind of discussion going on, yeah, in the class. But as far as giving, yeah, asking another student to provide the answer, that's what I mentioned just now. We need to talk about academic integrity, yeah, with our students. And you need to put it in writing, and you need to also, when you give the take-home test or any kind of online assessment, to stress. I know that you can actually discuss, yeah, but I've already stated there, yeah, that you cannot discuss, yeah, with another person virtually or physically. And then if I feel sort of skeptical with your answer, I can actually give you a call and I will ask you to explain orally to me. Yeah. So just like LHDN lah. I mean, whatever that you have provided, I can ask you at any time to produce those evidences. So I can actually counter check with you whether or not you are these are your answers. And also that statement, yeah, where they actually say, yeah, I'm aware of the honor code, yeah, I'm aware of peraturan akademik UPM, dan get them to sign that. So just by signing, we are teaching our students to be honest about this. Yeah, this part of integrity. Of course, you cannot be very 100% sure that they're not going to discuss. Yeah, they really help each other. Our students are like that. Yeah, so I still believe that they will help each other, but we need to make sure to minimize that. Okay? Is that okay, Min?
Yes. Ada satu soalan lagi daripada Dr. Azrina. Saya akan onkan mic dia.
Okay, Dr. Azrina. Which faculty, ya?
Azrina, medik.
Okay.
Tumpang tanya, Prof. Biasa untuk final exam kita kena ada answer scheme kan? Sebab bila kita buat open book ni, kan jawapan dia can be broad and then student akan kena fikir critically kan? So nak letak answer scheme tu sebab soalan kita akan di-vet juga.
I don't know about this answer scheme, but let's say I'm a teacher educator, right? And sometimes, like when I give a question, I said, you need to explain this content to your students, right? And how are you going to explain and what are the examples and explanation you provide so that students can actually grasp the content better, something like that lah. I actually cannot come up with a very rigid kind of answer scheme because I need to see it from the creativity of the students, the approach that they will be trying, the appropriateness of the examples. Yeah, so it's more of the grading criteria that I use, and I will just put maybe because I don't know, nobody actually question, or maybe I'm always lucky that nobody pick up on my answer scheme. Yeah, but I will make it very broad. And if you remember, we had PT3 last time, yeah, which was a big failure, where we were giving students mathematics questions where it relates to real life, but according to TIMSS and PISA assessment, it can be answered through various methods, yeah, and we do not penalize, yeah, whatever method students use. So when the teachers were not used to this kind of answer scheme, so they are used to having an answer scheme for SPM and so on, that you have this answer scheme, you give marks for this, you give marks for that, you don't have this, you don't get marks, right? So that was the problem when the teachers were given no real answer scheme was given, yeah, so that because it depends on the student's answer, yeah, so they were very rigid in the way that they grade the students. And in the first year, the PT3, yeah, was a total failure where a lot of students actually failed. This is the same scenario here that we are facing, yeah. Like if it's going to be open book, yeah, they have to be creative. They may come up with different way, yeah. So you just have to mention, yeah, if students come up with some kind of creative solutions, you grade them, you give them marks for this, you give them marks for that, macam tu aja. I don't think it has to be a very proper, you need to discuss with your TDA, yeah. But so far when I send in mine like that, yeah, no one really question, yeah,
Okay.
why it's very
Prof, apa ni Prof? Kalau let's say we have a minimal guide, maksudnya the student should include certain points, then how they elaborate it depend. So
yeah.
is that a good way also?
Yeah, because in our exam kan, we have other things. So maybe your first question to have very apa tu very clear answer scheme, right? So your second question more open-ended. So you want to see students' creativity. So you just mention what you want to see and how you're going to apportion the marks. I think that should be fine. But the problem with answer scheme is this. When Dr. Azrina did the questions and you did the answer scheme, and you are the one who's going to grade, no problems.
Okay.
Why we wanted an answer scheme was that if something happened to Dr. Azrina, students have already taken the exams and you cannot grade the exam at that time.
Okay.
And you were the one who actually taught the course. So no, macam kita meninggal ke, you know, that kind of things lah, when people cannot ask us anymore, right? So
Yes.
how does someone else take over and be fair to the students based on what you have taught them? That's why we need to see answer scheme. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, sure.
Prof, we actually have another 3 questions.
I think boleh at the end tak sekejap lagi.
Alright, boleh.
We have, it's already
11:15.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I try to speed up. Yeah.
Alright.
So just now we were mentioning it's more for advanced courses and so on. But some, as I said, if you are just like at the level of C3, maybe it's not gonna be appropriate for you to come up with open book, right? So you may have to conduct a regular 2-hour exam, macam biasa. Yeah, but you need to authenticate the test taker. You may have a human proctor, yeah, a person who actually sit in Sabah or someone you can trust, whom you have contacted, yeah. A human proctor is when students take the test, the students will determine a proctor, tell you who the person is, you have to contact that person, maybe you give them a password, so this person will sit with the proctor and he open up the exam. For that 2 hours, then he close invigilation lah, yeah. And then they have automated online proctoring, yeah. So you can see at the bottom here the TailView system, yeah, automated proctoring. So they will actually look into the software, ensures the candidate focuses on the test screen. You see, if I'm cheating, so someone will stand behind my computer, provide me the answer, or I just put my test, my questions on the side for someone to look at it, go and search for it, and then give me back my answer. This is not open book. We have moved to regular exam, right? Your regular exam may be MCQ, maybe short essays. Yeah, so I can write down, or I can even capture WhatsApp to someone else. So how do you actually monitor those? Yeah? That's why they have the automated online proctoring, where there's a lot of interesting research that has been done on this one. How student cheats, yeah. They monitor the light and other factors in the room, yeah. If someone is walking, they can see maybe shadows. Checks for suspicious objects and background voice activity, and watches the browser window to detect changes. Yeah, so that's what the system does. So this is what we call automated online proctoring. If we have this kind of system, maybe we can do this 2-hour exam online. Yeah, or since we don't have that, yeah, we can have like Zoom, Google Meet, or whatever. So your students will have to answer, yeah, either on paper and then capture, WhatsApp to you or email to you the answers, or they answer online, yeah, type, yeah, and then you monitor, yeah, through Zoom, Google Meet, just like you can see me right now, yeah, so you can see your students. So chances that they cheat is still gonna be very high, and many studies have been done on this one. So if you are doing regular tests, yeah, for open book take-home test, yeah, it has to consist of multiple choice questions, short essays. No, your regular test does not have to be open book. Your regular test can be closed book, yeah. That is our regular 2-hour test, yeah. But it can also be open book. So give limited time given to answer. Students can all take the test at the same time or at different time, but questions must be randomized if you decide on that one. Give one question at a time, no looking back. The reason is there are some that suggest students are allowed to look back at earlier questions, but a lot of some suggestions, they cannot look back. The reason is that I capture already the question, either I through my camera, yeah, and give to someone through WhatsApp. So at later time, I answer this question, and that's why they do not allow, yeah, students to look back. So you have to answer at that time, and that's it. And then you move on to the next question. And considering the number of questions, time allotted, and the unique order of questions for each student, there just wouldn't be time for students to inappropriately collaborate. Yeah, if you have a 2-hour test, you have that many questions like in our real exam in the class, you find that, you know, like students don't even have time to look around or anything, because they need all the 2 hours, yeah, to answer the question. It has to be questions where it's difficult to just look up for the answer, yeah, and according to higher questions of higher order, yeah, no recall questions. Okay. So other forms of open tests appropriate for open take-home test and assessment. We need to think about, we have to look back at the purpose of assessment. Yeah, we need to, it's meant to record achievement, provide information, identify whether learning are met, learning outcomes. I can see that one. Develop self-regulation, provide teacher the to log, yeah, to sort self-regulate, to the facts, provide teachers the facts to self-regulate, yeah, increases motivation. Okay, assessment for practical work, we have also mentioned earlier, yeah, we have problem with that right now with the MCO. So this is competency in actually setting up the assigned tasks using materials and equipment available. They can post on video, and some students do not have the equipment. Yeah, like they have to be in the lab. Yeah. So what are our options right now? Of course, our first option is to allow students to come back for a while, just for a while, to minimize the risk of COVID-19. So they can come, yeah, we adhere to all the SOPs and so on, so they are allowed to come on campus, right? Or if you just cannot, you may use indirect assessment of practical skills. You can search on that one, where student skills are inferred in a written examination or through some other secondary form of assessment. Being able to do something is very different from telling about it. Our students going to the farm, right? From buat batas, you know, tanam benih sampai taking care of it, weeding, semua sampai it grows and produce yield, right? So student can explain, of course, yeah. In terms of writing, they can explain what they're supposed to do, but in real sense, if they do it, would it really be a successful project? Yeah. So we may use IAPS, yeah, but you really need to, if there is no other options, then we have to go by that. Yeah? If not, you need to see some kind of practical mastery, yeah, of the skills. Just now we talk about online oral tests. You get immediate feedback, yeah, amount of time required, and problem of record keeping. That is the drawbacks, yeah, a lot of time, yeah. So you can use suitable platforms, right? Google Meet, Zoom, Skype, yeah. Reading assignment, especially I think in certain fields, we seldom give reading assignment. So our students are not very good with scan reading, just going through something and getting the gist. Yeah, so we need it at the workplace. At some point, they will have to be doing some kind of paperwork, right? So also give them reading assignment. So you may ask them to summarize using infographic how everything relates, you know, like put in, yeah, all the information so that you can see, do they get the gist or not? Then they can share the ideas, example, using Padlet, yeah, open-ended, yeah, justify, they can defend, yeah, and it cannot be based on a fixed answer scheme, yeah. Just now, Dr. Azlina was asking, yeah, a lot of things when we are talking about open-ended question, we would like to students to be divergent in their thinking, to be creative, yeah. Sometimes we cannot give a fixed answer scheme. Reflective papers, actually this relates to what we call metacognition. Yeah, metacognition is how you regulate your own thinking, your own thought processes. Sometimes when you do things, you need to see how do I go about this, how do I approach this situation, what is the best way, how do you go about, yeah, thinking. Are there any possible approaches? This is very important in the learning of science, in mathematics, science, or whatever. We talk a lot about metacognition because when students answer a question, they will have to think, am I using the right formula? Is this the right methods to use? How do they regulate that? How do they make that decision? That is metacognition. So when you get students to do reflective paper, yeah, this actually enhance their metacognition. Metacognition is above your cognition, right? They have to identify the most significant learning, include analysis. Also, they need to include changes in behavior. Let's say they do something, so what kind of change do they need to make? What do they want to suggest? Yeah? Let's say for doctors, right? Like Dr. Azlina, when they go meet patient and so on, so they have done this and so on. So we need to see when they discusses, yeah, how should they have done it? You know, what kind of differences should have been done rather than the way that they had done it. So includes potentially critical perspective of others, yeah, and also to provide action plan. So these are example of reflective papers. Yeah, what were the major learnings? How do this learning differ from your previous learning? How will you apply this learning to new patients, for current patients? So these are examples of reflective paper that you may also give your students instead of giving the other assessment that was suggested. Okay. So in doing assessment for remote learning, you need to do a lot of quizzes, short but frequent quizzes. When I mentioned earlier, yeah, for every chapter that the students have to do online, they have like 6-7 questions for pre-test, 6-7 questions for post-test. All this is calculated in their final grade. Yeah? It's short but frequent. Yeah? And automated grading, yeah, and sometimes it's just to give feedback to students and you may not use it towards their final grade. Some may be used towards their final grade. For short answers or short constructed response items, instructor may want to provide additional commentary feedback, through emails and so on. So you may actually get students to do quizzes, projects. We are all familiar with projects. This is something that I think if you have been doing this during the good times when it's not MCO, this is something that you can continue. They just need to receive peer feedback so they can put their projects in YouTube, share it on Putra Blast, if that is allowed in terms of how much whether it's supported. Sometimes kalau video tu we prefer that they link to YouTube rather than have the video in Putra Blast, right? So we need students to give feedback, and other students have to learn how to give good feedback, good critical feedback. And students need to present their findings. They can use website, blogs, whatever, and instructors need to provide evaluations form for self-evaluation and peer assessment. So we have been given project, but now you are handling the project differently because your students are not doing the project and you cannot see the progress of the project. So you need to learn how to monitor, where students have to turn in as they progress, send in videos or whatever. Portfolio, in some program, portfolio is something that they have been practicing. For others who have not practiced the use of portfolio, you can actually try this, where students need to showcase their learning and growth. So they may include entries that demonstrate their progression of understanding and mastery of the concept, and peer reviews of portfolio can also serve as an effective learning. So they have also e-portfolio, so it can be on some kind of platform where the portfolio is online, or they can come up with portfolio in other forms, for them to submit. Presentations, just now we are used to students presenting in front of us. So if you want to see that, you can have it on YouTube videos, get students to through Zoom class, that is allowed. But you can also try other form of presentation, where students actually share ideas. Presentation does not mean a verbal presentation where they actually you want to see how they communicate and explain, but it can also be in other forms like blogs, web-based, video slideshows, and again, the mention about peer assessment, which should be exercised so that they can help each other improve, and they learn from each other. Okay, case studies. We have been doing a lot of case studies and programs in UPM. So this is also very much recommended during MCO online remote learning. So students are given some cases to work on, and they work in teams. So when they work in teams, they have to learn how to work in teams when they are in different places. So they need to provide their reports, responses of cases. So instructor need to follow up, so they can use simulation game, videos, slideshows, whatever, photos to show how they work on the case study, and what's the outcome of the case study. So we need to keep on reminding students, when you do this kind of online, more open book, open assignments, students need to learn how to synthesize. So they read from multiple sources. It's not just for you. I see this even in our graduate students where they just, you know, cut and paste from so many different resources, but they don't have conclusions, and they are not able to synthesize the whole thing. Yeah. So here we need to tell the students what I'm going to look at or evaluate is on your ability to synthesize data. You can look at it from so many different papers, books, journal, whatever, but I would like to see how you look at it critically, yeah, and compare, analyze, yeah, and to come up with a conclusion. And for students to avoid plagiarism, yeah, so turn-in report is a must. We need to teach students on how to cite, how to quote, yeah. Students are still poor with this. Yeah, we don't have a proper course at the early part of their university years to learn how to write. On how to learn how to write and how to learn how to cite, quote, yeah, and how to not take credit for another person's idea. So plagiarism, talk about integrity, yeah. And tell the students, I do not want something that you did not proofread before you send in. Yeah. So we do not want sketchy answers, sketchy work, cincai. So check for spelling, grammar, yeah, and other errors before turning it in. Yeah. Do your own work. We have already discussed that. Yeah. In our instruction, we will have to put that in. Keep copies for yourself and tell students don't wait until the last minutes, because when we give take home, yeah, we expect more because it's take home and you are given more time, right? So our expectation is also higher. And make sure that they receive confirmation, yeah, before for any kind of submissions. Okay, helping students prepare for the exam, yeah. So they have to know major concept, yeah, organization of main ideas, relationship between different concepts, yeah. So they need to see the big picture, yeah. When they study, they need to see the big picture and how all these concepts interrelate, because it's going to be very difficult for them to tackle a question where they cannot see the interconnectedness between what they have learned. Yeah, because we're not going to give a question based on this chapter or that particular chapter or section. The question may see in total their understanding of the entire course, for the entire course. And they need to lecture notes to zero in on what the instructor is likely to ask. Yeah, macam what make prediction, yeah, of what are the possible questions. They need to plan ahead, yeah, anticipate test questions, potential answers, yeah, need to prepare and mark with sticky notes. Girls are good with this, yeah, coming up with sticky notes, highlight this, highlight that, but don't highlight too many things you don't even know what it's for, yeah, color coding, because actually when you are asked something, yeah, immediately you need to be able to identify where to get the resources, not to where to get the answers. The answer is not in the book, right? Where do you refer to start off, yeah, that particular question? So you need to label the markers, you need to list important facts. So minimizing cheating in online, yeah, this is quite interesting. Like Landers was saying, even 50% of college students cheat on an exam, yeah. And what more when in an in-person kind of exam, yeah. What more on online? So high-tech teaching, we know this, yeah. Student, this is quite old picture. I think this is BlackBerry, is it? Okay, so student ask, student give the answer. So we know about this, yeah. Actually, in my 35 years, almost 36 years of teaching, I did not see any of this kind of doings. Yeah, but this kind of cheating in exam, yeah, now in some universities they do not allow students to use smartwatches. Of course, phones, we do not allow that. That's quite interesting here, where they put boxes so that students do not turn left and right and look at other people's answer. So now we are moving, yeah, to this kind of automated monitoring, yeah, where they monitor students' movement, eye movement, dilation of pupil, in terms of lighting of the room, yeah, whether or not to see if students are cheating. Interesting, yeah. So look at some of this, yeah, how to cheat on some online multiple choice tests. Actually, students come up with some kind of guide, yeah, on how to cheat. Yeah, we lecturers are thinking about how to make the exam so that students cannot cheat on our exams. They are coming up with suggestions on how to actually cheat on this multiple choice test. Because if it's an automated test where the moment students answer, they will get the results. They actually will check on the source, the code, program code. I'm not sure if that's the correct term for it. Program code, and you can see from the program code A, B, C, D, and it will indicate which one is the correct answer actually. Yeah. So since student can check, right? Do not give, you have to give quite a lot of questions in that 1 hour or 2 hours that they sit in. If not, they have time to really like check this, check the codes and so on, minimize that. Yeah, and they have like how to hack and find answers. So MCQ can only be conducted as an online assessment option if it is proctored. Yeah, proctored by a person, proctored or monitored online, and with just enough time given for completion. If you give them a lot of time, then they will have a lot of tricks. They will have a lot of time to communicate, yeah, with others who are in the room or not in the room with them. Yeah. So how to minimize, yeah, using question banks, yeah, that has been tried out. Like students do not have one set. It's not about jumbling up the question, but banks, you know, like different sets. If you choose set A, you get this question. You have set B, you have these questions. But the lecturers have to make sure set A and set B are equivalent. Equivalent in terms of numbers, difficulty, scope. Yeah, so it's difficult to come up with different question banks. You need to mix objective and subjective. Yeah, and this may not prevent students from sharing answers or information, but it may limit the effect on the students' final grade, and set a timer. Yeah, so if you think the time is just appropriate, then they would not be able, yeah, to rely on other things except for what they have already understood from the course. And display one question at a time. We have already discussed this, so that they cannot screen capture, send to someone else, copy paste or whatever. Limit the number of attempts. Yeah. So there are some software that allows this. They cannot like answer many times. So you can minimize, yeah, attempts at answering potentially incorrect test questions. And it's suggested also consider multiple attempts for low stakes assessment, short quizzes that bear like 2-3 points, but not only one attempt for high stake assessment like midterms, final exam. And then limit feedback displayed for students. Yeah. So you can limit what kind of feedback they will get. Yeah, some will just get the grade. Some will say, okay, these are the questions that you got wrong. These are the questions that you get right. But at the same time, we are thinking about assessment as and for learning, because when you sit in a test or a quiz, actually by looking at the right answer, you actually helps you learn. So you decide, do you want to display the answers to students upon completion of the test, or you think it has to be kept? Yeah. So be purposely selective in assessment methods. Yeah. So we have already talked about different kind of assessment, and this is MCO time. This is not a regular semester. Yeah. Students are having difficulties. We are having difficulties. So be considerate, right? Send multiple reminders. Yeah, I'm going to give you an online quiz tomorrow, and so on and so on. It will contribute to whatever. So send to WhatsApp, send email. Yeah, be flexible with time. Okay, in other times you want to discipline them, it has to be sent in by 5 o'clock. It has to be sent in by 5 o'clock. But sometimes students just have problem, but they have to give you valid reason. They have to provide you the evidence why they cannot send it on time. And these are the last few slides. I talk about reliability, validity, and also authenticity of assessment. Just now we were talking about validity. Does it measure what it's supposed to measure, right? So that's why the vetting session is also very important. Does it measure the particular CLO? You need to have various form of tests, because when you want to gather evidences, you know, like it cannot just be through tests, maybe through assignment, presentation. What you actually want is to gather evidences that students have already achieved certain LO, yeah, course learning outcome, and the test should be validated by another person with expertise in the area assessed. Okay, we have also issues on that one. Some people said in the faculty or in the department, I'm the only expert, you know, who can actually give comments on my questions. That's true to some extent, but we can also look in general, even though it's not our discipline. I'm in maths education, I can look at the science education papers, no problem. Yeah. So reliability of assessment tasks. So when we talk about reliability, the easiest is for you to think about tests, standardized tests like TOEFL, IELTS, and so on. You may take the test today, yeah, and in 3 weeks' time you receipt for the test, your score may be about the same. Yeah, so there is a degree of consistency and accuracy of the assessment outcomes. But if there is like maturity in between, between the two tests, well, maybe people improve, or some other intervention, they take courses, they may improve, right? But if you are talking about during very short time under the same condition, then it should be quite consistent. Yeah. So how do you ensure, yeah, how to increase reliability? First, instruction. We need to give clear instruction. Just now we were talking about marking schemes, rubrics, yeah, about distribution of marks. We have seen that, and some question bear like 30 marks, some question bear 5 marks. So you need to see also whether or not it's a fair distribution of marks. Clear guides for observing and recording evidences. Venue, this is not applicable to what we have today, but test venue is conducive. If we are talking about the UMS student who's on the tree house, well, the test venue is not conducive for her. So moderation in marking, so we need to have other examiners. If you are doing, if you are having a course and sharing with a few others, yeah, so you need to have moderators and develop tests of appropriate length. It's a 2-hour test. You need to sort of gauge. It can be answered in 2 hours. Yeah, maybe get someone to answer it first, a friend. Yeah, can you answer in 2 hours? And very short tests are less reliable. And we talk about authentic assessment. Yeah, is where students should be able to the assessment will show students about the application of what they have learned in real life settings. Yeah, so when students answer that, they know that it's something that they need in real life, is something that will help them, yeah, in the real work situations. Yeah, so where students can put their learning gather information, analyze, and use it to solve real world problems. So that's it. Now I can open for Q&A. My email, I have my email, and I was made to understand my ida@upm email will still be active. I'm not sure indefinitely, but you can email me. Okay, Min, back to you.
Okay, Prof. Thanks. So I nak highlight soalan-soalan daripada participants. But I think better I unmute them so dia boleh tanya directly to you.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one is from Dr. Siti Khatijah. I think Dr. Siti Khatijah boleh unmute untuk tanya.
Alright, hi Prof. Assalamualaikum.
Hi, I cannot see your face.
I don't know how.
It's okay, it's okay.
Right. So I do have one question. Just to ask for your opinion regarding to do you think that this is a suitable time for us to practice to instill trust or amanah value inside our students, because they are our product. So we will send them to our real client, right? Industry. So this is a time, because when you do the sharing just now, I noticed that you get a question, macam mana kita nak tahu student tu tiru ke? Bukan ke waktu sekarang ni yang sepatutnya kita ajar, kita didik, kita pupuk nilai amanah tu pada student. Maksudnya we try our best. I mean to do our very best thing untuk make sure yang student tu tak tiru semua kan. Tapi whatever it is still depends pada student tu sebenarnya untuk meniru ataupun tidak.
Yeah.
So macam itulah.
Okay, actually it's not about now, it's the whole time they are in UPM. Yeah, we should be emphasizing about integrity, academic integrity. Benda tu terbawa-bawa sampai dia bekerja. And we can see that. Dr. Siti from which faculty?
Dia dari computer science.
Okay, so it's not about this time. It's about from the start, from the very start. We should be instilling these values to them. Yeah, from school, from higher education. So sometimes we lack. We are not able to actually monitor betul ke tidak. As I said, they can outsource. They can ask other people to do it. Sebab itu kita akan bagi dia clause where they have to sign in that they abide to peraturan akademik, and they are aware that if they actually copy or whatever, so ask them to sign that kind of statement. Yeah, and of course you need to also include during your lectures to highlight about this kind of things. Memang kita nak betul-betul pastikan tu memang tak akan dapat lah. I mean, people are at home, right? They have so many resources, so many people that they can ask. But in cases where I feel that rasa macam curiga, I may call any one of you to explain to me. So mungkin dia rasa macam takutlah juga, sebab kalau tidak nanti tak boleh nak jawab kan. So there were a few suggestions that was made lah during the presentation. I hope you can just like go through and find what is the best for your kind of students and content that you are teaching.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Ada soalan lagi daripada Dr. Siti Zubaidah. Kalau Dr. Siti Zubaidah nak tanya, boleh unmute.
Dr. Siti Zubaidah from FBMK ke?
Tak sure pula Prof, tak tulis kat sini. Okey, kalau macam tu saya teruskan. Ada soalan daripada YouTube, Prof. Live live on YouTube sekarang ni saya tengok ada 80 orang.
Mm-hmm.
First questions daripada Dr. Noh Hazlin, Faculty Science. Can I do the open book test less than 24 hours? For example, just 1 to 2 hours. Of course, the questions are knowledge, but I don't think they need more than 2 hours to avoid cheating as well.
Okay, usually open book test, as was mentioned, is meant for more advanced courses where you actually want students to solve specific problem using whatever resources that they can get hold of. Macam kita kerja lah, yeah. So suddenly you need to solve this one, you need to find so many different resources to help you come up with a good solution. So it's advanced, yeah, and it's not something that you can do in 2 hours. Tapi kalau you are talking about open book, just now I gave you cadangan, yeah, I give you suggestions. If your courses maybe level dia tak setakat C3, maybe it's better not for you to do open book test, right? Because your focus is more on comprehension, recall, where the answer is straight away from the book. So you want them to be able to answer right there and then within your 2 hours. Then do your regular test, but you need to have some kind of monitoring. So your regular final exam can be given, right, in your 2 hours, so that there will be less chances that students will cheat or discuss. Memang busy lah jawab semua-semua. Then do it on like Zoom where you can see everybody online, and make sure if it's a paper and pencil test, you can ask students to sit further away so that you can see the student tu semua badan dia. Right? Just like bila kita tengok orang in exam hall. So the camera, and then maybe they are at a table about 2 meters from the camera. Then you can see, yeah, 2-hour test. You are actually monitoring the test from a remote place. Or if the answer they have to use the computer to answer, then that will be more difficult lah. But you can see mata dia kat mana, dia pusing kat mana. So you need to be very alert lah. Kalau tiba-tiba mata dia asyik tengok ke atas, so that means someone is providing or giving hints to answers. Yeah, they can have like 2-3 computers at the same time open. Kita pun tengok lah macam mana. So that was why they come up with the online proctoring system. To orang computer science will need to do this kind of research on how to detect that body movement, eye movement, lighting, yeah, to see that whether or not people are cheating on exams. But it can be done, no problem, but not the open book test that we are talking about. Because when we are talking about open book test, you are expecting a more challenging question, a more challenging task, more complex one, where it will actually help you to determine a higher level, cognitive level, yeah, and in advanced courses. Tapi kalau macam soalan tu straightforward, yeah, then you have to do the 2-hour regular exam, but proctored, yeah, physically or online, or through meeting platforms macam ni lah. Is that okay?
Okay, Prof. Satu soalan lagi daripada YouTube tentang Putra Blast. Mestikah soalan dalam Dewi Bahasa dimasukkan dalam Putra Blast?
Yang tu Kate kena jawab. I cannot answer that one. No.
Yang ni berkaitan dengan peraturan
kena tengok peraturan lah.
Examination.
Kena tanya bahagian akademik yang tu. I cannot, nanti saya jawabkan salah pula.
Dekat Putra Blast kita tak ada spesifik arahan untuk masukkan berkenaan Dewi Bahasa ni.
I mean your simple quizzes, short quizzes tu, I don't think you need to have Dewi Bahasa. Kan? Kita punya final exam je kan, kita minta Dewi Bahasa dengan midterm. Yeah. Not for all exam. I mean for your, it depends on what's the language that you use for your course.
Okay, I think that's all questions yang diletakkan dalam chat. Kalau ada lagi attendees yang nak tanya soalan, kita ada masa lagi 2 minit lah. So boleh raise hand. Okay, Dr. Siti Zubaida. Raise hand.
Assalamualaikum Dr.
Waalaikumsalam.
Aida. Ya, tadi saya tertinggal masa keluar sekejap tadi. In your slide, you mentioned about IAPS for practical skill. Boleh bagi contoh?
The IAPS tu, let's say right now, you cannot observe students while they are doing practical tests, right? And there is no way for students to come back on campus. Memang tak boleh langsung lah, kita dah fikir all this, tak boleh, right? Tapi kita sekarang ni bagi kelonggaran. Some students can come back on campus for them to do their practical work. Let's say worst case scenario, they cannot. So you may have to give them like a written test lah. Describe the process of doing this.
Basically macam tu je lah
macam
ya?
tu lah. Melainkan, it's just like, contoh saya tadi tanam pokok kan, daripada penyediaan batas sampailah make sure tak ada ulat sampai boleh dapatkan hasil, right? I can explain, but in real life it does not happen, kan? Macam juga doctors, they learn how to draw blood, kan? Boleh cerita, boleh buat macam ni, kena letakkan ni, lepas tu cari dia punya veins ni macam boleh cerita, tapi bila buat tak jadi, tak keluar. Lepas tu cocok tangan lain, semua tak jadi. So practical skill is not something that should be tested in written form or something that someone explain, but it has something that they need to demonstrate to us. Sebab itu kita dah ada psychomotor domain pula for that one. Kan, dia sampai level apa? Sampai dia level yang dia rasa confident, boleh buat some complex movement. Tapi kita tak boleh. So that is an option yang bukanlah kita nak consider sangat, tapi boleh consider in worst case scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Saya tak nampak lagi ada attendees yang raise hand. And soalan daripada YouTube pun ada 2 soalan tadi je, Prof.
Yes.
I think we can wrap up, Prof, before we end the session.
Okay. So for this semester, we started off face to face, and then we had to end up online or remotely. For this coming semester, it's going to be fully online, where you need to plan. You need to plan so that you can have in the real sense, continuous assessment. Give them short quizzes, staggered, something that will really keep them on toe. Katanya every week mesti ada buat benda ni, kena submit ni, by tomorrow kena submit ni, and they are in the know. Then only you can monitor their learning and make sure that they really learn. And it will be easier for you to do your final assessment. It's just for this semester saya rasa agak kelang kabut because of the sudden problem that we face. But hopefully we can plan better for the next semester, and we can come up with better online sessions for teaching and also for the online assessment. And CADe has done a tremendous job. Saya rasa masa MCO tak tahu berapa paper CADe bawa to Senate untuk diluluskan garis panduan ni, garis panduan tu. You can refer to that. It's quite comprehensive.
Okay, Prof. Alhamdulillah, and hari ini nampaknya sesi kita berjalan lancar, tiada gangguan. Sebelum ni ada juga gangguan internet, lagging dan sebagainya. So hari ini smooth dan participants pun nampak ramai pada hari ini. And on behalf of CADe, saya nak ucapkan terima kasih to Prof Aida sebab sudi fulfill our invitation walaupun short notice kan. And also to all attendees, thank you for joining. And please look forward to coming session. Petang ni kita ada online clinic for assessment. Yang tu kita dah emailkan kepada semua pensyarah di UPM untuk join.
Yang ni more for the technology, right? The technology available for you
Ya,
to
yang ni
develop your
hands on.
online.
Kita ada klinik, so ada 6 orang facilitator untuk bantu. And then we also have another clinic for tomorrow. So I think for that, thank you and see you in another session pada masa akan datang. So Prof, selamat bersara. Hope you enjoy. Okay, Prof. Nanti senang-senang datanglah CADe.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay,
everybody.
thank you semua. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum.